Today we are continuing the second part of the game development series. So here, the last time we discussed the potential of the mobile game development, and today we are going to discuss more about the mobile game development using Unity. So here, for the today's session, we have a very special trainer, an experienced trainer. He's Udita Bandara, the CEO and the founder of the Blue Chip Technology Asia. And he's a very experienced trainer in the Microsoft technologies, especially, and he's one of the very first Microsoft most valuable professionals in the country. So without a further intros, I would like to invite Udita Bandara for continuing the session. Thank you. Udita, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Kalinga. A very good evening to everyone. So we'll start the session. So today's session is about mobile game development with Unity. So in this session, we are going to focus on Unity game development, and also what are the things you need to know in order to create mobile games as well. So I hope everyone is a beginner to this area. So if you have any questions, you can also post in the chat box as well. So this will be both theoretical as practical as well. So we'll be demoing some of the things in the Unity game engine as well. So as Kalinga mentioned, I'm Udita Bandara, founder CEO, Blue Chip Technologies Asia. So we'll start the session. So everything about, so I think some of you have already heard about Unity game engine. So this is now a few years old technology, which is everyone familiar with, especially with indie developers, because as a game developer, you can easily start with Unity game engine. So Unity is a really popular game engine, especially targeting for beginners. So if you look at game engines, there are other game engines like Unreal game engine, but that is a little bit more advanced when it comes to beginners. But beginners can easily go alone and started their own very first game using Unity, because Unity provides a really good set of tool set in order for beginner to get started with, right? So we'll look at step by step what are these tool set and how you can get started with the Unity game development. Okay, so I will start by playing a video about Unity. So as in the video you have seen, Unity have evolved from game engine as well for designers, architects. So likewise, many teams can collaborate in the Unity environment and they can work parallelly in the Unity game engine. So that is a really powerful thing about the Unity, and it's multi-platform. Let's say you want to make a game for Android, or let's say you want to get a game for iOS. Let's say the same game you need to make for web platform. Let's say same game you need to make for Xbox 360. So the Unity make it easier to deliver this game for multiple platforms. That is one of the main advantage of Unity platform. So you can create a one game and you can easily use that game and you can easily deploy that into multiple platforms. But when you are making the game, you need to look at several areas that I will explain throughout this session. But before that, we need to know what is Unity, what are the fundamentals of Unity, and what are the things you need to know in order to make games in Unity. So Unity is a game engine for 2D and 3D games. When you look at games, there are mainly two types. One is 2D games and then 3D games, right? So then we need to know within the game what kind of like the components we going to have in a game. So for example, if it is a 3D game, you need to add more components into the games, like 3D environments, right? The skybox and 3D models and all the things you need to associate it in a 3D game. But in a 2D game, the things are much more simpler. You can use the 2D animations and you can set up the 2D game. So very first task for game developers will be what type of game you are going to build, right? So either a 2D game or 3D game. So based on that, Unity support a lot of tools for game development. So let's explain one by one. So as I mentioned, Unity is a really powerful game engine. And another feature in the Unity is like it runs on all the major platforms. So let's say you are having a Mac, you can run Unity in Mac. You can run Unity in Windows, or you can run Unity in Linux. And it's completely free. So there are some threshold, but it's completely free to use for beginners or the indie developers. It's completely free. You can get the Unity, create your game, and you can publish without any charges, completely free. Okay. So installation, you can go to the official website, unity.com, unity3d.com website, and in that you can get the latest version. So at the moment, the Unity version represented in the number of years. So the newest version would be 2021 some version number likewise. Earlier it could be called as a version number. Now it representing with the actual year number. So the recent versions are Unity 2020 and 2021. So with each new version, they'll be adding more and more features to the platform, and you can run in all the platforms as well without any restrictions. So when you are setting up Unity, so there's a question, other applications for developing mobile games than Unity. Yeah, so if you are using, if you look at game engines, you can use Unreal also to develop mobile games. That is another standard platform that we can use. But in terms of learning curve, Unity is much more easy. And also because Unity is mostly beginner friendly, and it's provide a lot of support. Let's say, for example, forum support, learning tutorials. So likewise, there's a lot of support around it with the Unity, and there's a marketplace around a lot of template that you can use it for game development. But there's, if you look at technology wise, there's Unreal also we can use for mobile games as well. But issue is Unreal Engine is much more advanced, and then it used for a lot of like high-end graphics. So in in mobiles devices, we cannot use a lot of high-end graphics unless it's a really high-end phone. The majority of the mobile phones are not high-end, it's like average market. So then we need to look at those things, because when you are making games, you need to available our game for the large audience. So that's where the Unity have a lot of plus marks compared to other platforms. So when you look at game development, so in the mobile games, mostly what we are doing is a casual games, right? So we are going to create a casual game. So again, there are some things are associated when you are creating games, right? Let me explain one by one. For example, here you can see we have a game idea and game design, right? So when you are making a game, so first thing you need to do is you need to come up with a game idea. So what kind of a task I'm going to achieve in this game? Let's say Fruit Ninja is going to cut this fruit. So likewise, it could be a very simple task, right? What kind of a task I'm going to do? What kind of a competitive feature I'm going to add in my game? So you need to come up with these areas beforehand, because Unity is not providing anything. These are like just ideas, like how you can roll out your game design or the game concept, right? If it is a mobile game, the ideas are majority of the games we call as casual games, which is really easy to play with. And if you look at the age groups, it's wide. Any age group can play the casual games because it's easier to interact with. But if you look at mostly like shooting games or racing games, strategy game, it's only there are certain age groups only that they can play this game, because you need to think a lot and you need to do a lot of things. You need to remember all the controllers, all these things in order to play the games, right? But if you look at casual games, it's wide market and it's popular. Everyone can play. Also, you can make revenue also much more faster. Why? because more people are playing the game, right? And there are different pricing modules also. I will explain that toward the end of the session, different pricing methodologies, how we can target our game pricings and all these things. I will explain those toward the end of the session as well. Okay, so then after that we need to design our graphics, right? We need to design our graphics. So let's say a game like Flappy Bird, we need to create these graphics relevant to what is the relevant graphics, the animations, the obstacles, all these things. So based on that, we can create our levels. So what is the level? So most of the casual games you have seen, that's a never ending kind of a game, right? It's never going to end. So like we can create those kind of levels as well. So until a time hits some particular time. So until you are getting game over, you can play, right? So that is a common thing in the casual games. But if you look at not non-casual games, that's not a feature where we need to have 3 or 4 levels, and then only we can play the game. Then we can design the audio, right? Audio design. So that is actually a separate area. So actually, if it is a casual game, a very small game, what you can do is you can get these royalty-free audio files, because audio design involve a lot of other softwares like FL Studio, like softwares to design your own soundtracks. So that is really difficult for beginners to go through all the areas. But if you have a game development team, you can do all these things. You can have audio team, you can have a game designer team, developer team. So everyone together can do this. But as a beginner, what we can do is like we can get royalty free music. But keep in mind, we cannot get someone else audio files, right? You cannot put your favorite artist audio song into your game. Why? That artist doesn't give you a right to put that in your game, right? So that is illegal. Like you cannot publish. That is one of the main thing you need to remember. So that's why we need to find royalty free music that is giving license for you to use, free of charge to use. So if you have this license only, you can use. And also when you are making content, especially this asset design part, this area, also you need to keep in mind, you cannot copy someone else's graphics. You cannot copy someone else, like let's say you want to create a Spider-Man game. So that is, you cannot create that using the original Spider-Man character art, you cannot create, because that is owned by Marvel. So likewise, you need to look at those things, right? Because these are copyright issues you need to look at. Also, the game you are creating, you get your own IP, right? That is another plus point. If you create a unique kind of a game that is not there at the moment, you automatically get your own set of IPs, intellectual property, for your game, because you are creating something unique, right? So that is the main point that they are looking at. Even those things are really important when you are actually publishing your game. You cannot copy someone else's graphics and audios like that. Then after that, for the developing part, we can use Unity. Unity is at the moment we are using Unity. So there's a question. Unity is flexible for juniors, like plugin based coding or all manual coding. So Unity is really a beginner friendly, where you can get a lot of the things done visually using visual editor, and only some part of the coding you need to do. You don't need to write everything, right? So in the coding in Unity, we call as scripting, right? Coding in Unity we call as scripting, where you need to write only some part of the code, not everything, right? So that is really good part. So when I demoing Unity game engine, you can look at more about these things, where you don't need to write everything. Most of the things visually available in the Unity game engine. Only we need to write certain set of coding using C# or JavaScript language. But it's called scripting. It's not directly called as programming. If you look at the other language, we call as programming, because everything we need to write from the beginning. But in Unity, we don't need to write everything, only some part of the thing. So that's why we call as scripting. The last part is called beta testing. The beta testing is like, we need to test out the code, because as a developer, if you develop the game, you can easily play the game. You know all the things about the game, but before publishing, you need to show the game for a person. It could be any person who did not see the game at all, right? And you need to get their honest feedback, right? Because it's better that person is a gamer. Then you get their honest feedback. Then you can iterate and you can improve your game. So that is really important. Otherwise, if you try to release it directly on your game, because that is as a developer, you might like the game and the things place and the competitiveness, but you need to show that to outsider. Let's say, for example, not one outsider, maybe you can show that to a couple of outsiders, and you can get majority feedbacks of a certain feature. So if, let's say, everyone says good, then it's no issue, right? But as a developer, we test the game as we developing as well. So it's not recommended to test on yourself. You need to actually show to that person who did not see the game earlier, right? So when you are making the game, so these are some of the flow you need to look at. So we need to start with the game with the initial starting mode. So that could be like logo of the company, or you can show the logo of your the game. So like you can create several graphics, right? So if you publish into Steam like platform, you can see these kind of lot of guidelines and lot of platforms. Yeah, we need to publish these different things. For example, we can create a logo for the game, right? Then there's a logo for the company. So those things we can show. So based on that, it will show some video, maybe video of the company, video about the small game. So you can create a trailer of the game and you can play that. Then after that, it will go to the main menu, right? Main menu is the main point of access for all the parts in the game, right? So in the main menu, you can set up some help and option. For example, how to play the game. You can create a small tutorial. You have seen in sample games, right? Even in mobile games, you need to have at least 1 or 2 pages of like basic settings like sound, enable, disable, how to play the game, things like that. Then after that, we can go to the gameplay mode. So not only for mobile games, this is common for any game. But if you look at large PC game like console games, these levels are even more complicated. Even menu is like really massive. They have like really massive menus where inside the menu you can go navigate into more and more dynamic menus, right? But in a simple casual games, it can be really simplified. But still you need to have some form of menu, maybe in-game menu. You need to have in order to display this information and handle the control over the user. Because for example, especially in mobile games, when you're playing the game, you can get a phone call, right? Then you need to set the game into post mode. Likewise, you need to look at all these things when you are developing the game playing, and then we can go to game post mode and then the exit mode. So likewise, we can iterate through the game flow. This is common not only for mobile games, it's common for almost all the type of games, right? So what can Unity do for you? So Unity as a game engine gives a lot of benefits and features. As I mentioned earlier, it's providing a lot of inbuilt support. When you download Unity, it automatically includes all these things. You don't need to like download any other plugin or any other additional software. Unity by default provide all these things. So it has support for animation, audio, right? It has support for animation, audio, physics, game physics. It have built-in support. What is game physics? So let's say if you want to create a game in a 3D world, let's say a player is jumping, running, likewise, then all these motions we need to set up using game physics. Then we can use input because the input is really important. For example, if it is a mobile game, input is different. Where in the mobile games, we have different input like touch input, accelerometer input, likewise. But if it's a console game, our input is different. In the console game, your input would be the console input, right? Likewise. Then if it is a PC game, keyboard and mouse, right? If it is a PC game, that will be keyboard and mouse. Then you can see the web games, it will be the web browser and again keyboard and mouse. So likewise, we need to look at these inputs, different input screen, how we can create. Because one of the advantage of the Unity is like you can create one project and you can deploy to multiple platforms, right? It supports a lot of platforms, right? That is one of the main advantage they are giving for the free of charge. Also, they are giving all these benefits where we can easily deploy to these platforms. Your same game you can available into web, desktop, mobile, just building one project and one game. Then we have the scripting part where you can use C# or JavaScript is the main language. So you need to learn these two languages, not both. only one, right? Either C Sharp or either JavaScript. Then there are some AI capabilities they have added recently, and there were few previously as well. So where, based on the game, there are different AI capabilities. So let's say a racing game can have another car going automatically with the player. In a chess game, you can create the opposite side the player as AI agent. Then in a shooting game, you can see another players are coming in and shooting at you. So likewise, there are a lot of AI capabilities are there based on the type of the game, because these game type are really important. There are around 20 to 30 different game genres are there. So based on the type of the game you are building, these AI techniques or everything going to be different, right? Because it's a really massive area where, racing game have different set of concepts, shooting game really area, the strategy game, right? Real-time strategy games. Likewise, then we have board games, adventure games, arcade games. Likewise, there are around 20 to 30 main areas and sub areas in terms of game genre. Then also you can enable networking part because some games prefer networking side where you can play with multiplayer, right? You can play with other players in the network using Wi-Fi, or you can use through the server. You can play that using the multiplayer feature. So whether you are going to have these kind of features, so that is also a part of Unity. So Unity providing by default all these things, right, for you. It's automatically available and it's much easier for us to plan our game. So when you are in the game designing mode, we can plan these things and we can build the games much more efficiently because of that, because everything is put to one tool, right? We don't need to download any other tool or supporting package or anything. Everything is integrated into one tool. Okay, so this is how a code looks like. This is a simple code. You can see this is simple C# code. This is how a code looks like in Unity. So you can create public class sphere script, right? Mono behavior. Then here you can see we are using C# here to create this code, right? So if you have any question, you can ask in the chat box. So then here what we are creating is a public color, click color, color.green, then private void mouse down. That means when the mouse click, we are going to change the color to green, right? So simple script will be like that. So we can then attach the script for a particular object, right? So that's how the scripting works. So you don't need to write entire thing. It's just a part of the code. That's why we call as scripting. So you need to write only part of the code. So for example, in this code, what we are doing is public color, click color is color.green. So we creating a variable called color as green color. Then private void mouse down. That means when the mouse down, that means mouse click, what we are going to do, we are changing the color into the green color. So in the game, we have a sphere object. Then when you click the click, we are changing the color into green color. Okay. So Unity games runs on everywhere. So as I mentioned, Unity support almost all the gaming platforms in the world, right? So on the top of the, here you can see PC, Mac, and Linux. So you can build the game and you can publish on these three platforms without any issues, right? Let's say you are in a Mac, you download Unity, you build the game and it's automatically create a package as a Mac game. It's create a Linux game in a Linux platform, Windows game in a Windows platform. Then you can create WebGL game that is automatically support all the browsers, but remember it's not supporting a mobile web browser, only the desktop based web browsers it's supporting. Then you can create mobile games, that is our main focus. So earlier have the support for these two, now it's not there, but Android and iOS support is there. So we can create a game, we can easily port our project as an Android game or as iOS games, right? That is simple as that, right? You can build your project in Unity and then there's a build option. I will show that in the demonstration. With that, you need to download the Android SDK if you are building for Android. Then you can easily create a APK file that is the executable in Android, and you can then publish into the marketplace as well, right? So that is a one great thing in Unity. Same goes to iOS. You need to have a Mac, then you download Xcode, then you can create your game and publish, and it's create a package where you can deploy the package into the Apple marketplace. Also, it supports the large consoles as well. What are the consoles? PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox. So it supports these consoles, but remember, it's not free of charge. You need to, because Xbox used to have this independent game development platform back in couple of years ago, but at the moment they are not directly giving that direct support for anyone to publish a game for a console. You need to be some kind of a game studio, or you need to create a good game in order to publish your game. So you need to send the game. There's an email at Microsoft. You need to send that to your game demo. Then they will review your game and they will send the development kits. And then we can, based on the development kits and the Unity together, we can create our executable. And then Xbox team will publish your game. We cannot publish on our own. We need to collaborate with Microsoft in order to do that publishing. Same goes to PlayStation as well. And in terms of the game, the file formats. So game is a kind of a multimedia technology. It involves a lot of set of different files. If you look at the software development, it's not like that. It's just one or two type of file types. That's it. But if you look at the game, it's not like that. There are multiple set of file associated with the Unity game engine. So for example, let's say we are creating animation. We need to use image files. So there are BMP, PNG, JPG like formats. Let's say we want to add audio, WAV, OGG, and MP3 formats. When you are working with audio, there are mainly two types of audio files. You need to think about that as well. One is sound effects, right? One is sound effects. Sound effects are the audio files that goes through, like, let's say, a shooting game, like shooting sound, or the walking sound, right? When you're opening the door, that sound. Likewise, a couple of milliseconds, the sound, that is sound effects. Then we have background music. So in really massive games, you have seen like orchestra is playing in these games, right? Because they have spent a lot of dollars in order to create this soundtrack. So actual orchestra is playing the soundtracks, and they are recording in the live orchestra, and then they plug in these audio soundtracks, and also big artists contribute to these games. But as indie developer, we do not have that kind of capabilities. So what we can do is we can get these royalty-free music audio tracks, and we can do that. But if you are familiar with FS Studio like softwares, we can create our own soundtracks, and then we can place in our game. Then it supports multiple font files. So the language also won't be an issue. You can support multiple languages in that. Then in terms of 3D modeling, it supports Maya, 3D Max, Blender software, because in order to create a 3D game, we need to create 3D models. So Unity is not a 3D modeling tool. You need to understand that Unity is not a 3D modeling tool or graphic designing tool. So you need to use other tools for that. For example, let's say you want to create a sprite sheet, or you need to create some graphics. You need to use Photoshop, Illustrator like software. If you want to create a video or trailer, you need to use Adobe After Effects or Premiere like software. Then if you want to create a 3D model, you need to use Blender, 3D Max, Maya like software, right? So Unity doesn't have a support, like Unity is not that kind of a software. It's a game development software, game engine. So we cannot, we need to import this from this software. So your team members need to have some skills in terms of graphic designing, 3D modeling, likewise. So I would recommend like at least 2% in the team, one person really good with graphics and the levels kind of area, then other person really good with coding, programming side. So then you can recreate a really good looking decent game, because one person try to do that, then they need to learn some kind of 3D modeling if they want to create a 3D game, or some kind of a 2D animations if they want to create 2D graphics. So that is a lot of tasks, but you can get some templates and free to use materials. That is also possible if you are really beginner and on your own want to try something out. That is, there are also tools and support for that. I will share that toward the end of the session. Okay, so graphics of Unity. So Unity support graphics of DirectX. DirectX is the runtime for Windows, and then in Mac and Linux platform, it uses OpenGL. So we can use really advanced lighting and shadows and all these effects we call shader programming all these effects we can use using Unity as well, and there are built-in components for that one. But of course, if you want to test out these things, your computing configuration also need to be higher, because as I mentioned, Unity is really good for beginners, and it can run in really low spec, right? Let's say you have even, let's say for example 4 GB RAM, still Unity can run. But if you're trying to create a really good graphics kind of a game, then again your spec need to be higher. You need to have a good VGA card. Your RAM need to be at least 16 GB or something like that. And processor also need to be i5 or higher that if you want to do like high-end graphics in Unity. But let's say if you want to create a mobile game with low-end graphics, or like if it is a simple casual games, then even 8 GB is fine. You can try it with 8 GB RAM. It works okay, because Unity is much more scalable with the type of a game you are developing. But Unreal is not like that. Even to get started with the Unreal, you need to have really big RAM, especially the graphic card as well, right? So those are some of the key things you need to look at. So Unity also flexible in those front as well. If you want to create really high-end graphics, good-looking graphics, that is also possible. And and the players also need to have these kind of graphic cards to play your game as well. And these are the platforms, and they keep on adding new platforms as well. So web, you can have in web, Android, Flash is not there, iOS, PlayStation, likewise. So you can go to Unity platforms and see what are the latest set of platforms that is supporting. So as I mentioned, they keep on adding new platforms as well. So they keep on adding new set of platforms that we can do that. For example, Facebook platform, then VR platforms. Likewise, they are keep on adding a lot of capabilities for these new type of platforms as well. So in this official website, you can see the latest set, iOS, Android, Universal Windows platform. Then we have Universal Windows and the Windows 10. List is Linux, OpenGL, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Oculus, Android TV, tvOS, Nintendo Switch, ARCO, this is Google Stadia, then Microsoft HoloLens and Magic Leap. So likewise, they keep on adding whatever the latest platform that going to release, they keep on giving support. So like Oculus Rift, Nintendo Switch, those are really popular these days. So they provide support for all these new things. Whenever the new gaming platform going to release, they are going to get support as the first. So that is really good for the entire ecosystem, right? So that is really good, because you get a chance to create your own game and publish to these new platforms as well. Because we are also new area, virtual reality and AR. So Google support both AR and VR. So AR is mostly into the mobile side, where we can create interactive game. It supports these capabilities as well. So if you look at Unity in a much more higher level, so we have these screens, right? So these are the kind of common screen that we get when you just open up Unity, right? So we have the scene window, we have this game window, we have a hierarchy window, number 2, number 5 is the project window, number 3 is a property window, we call as inspector window. So throughout the game, you'll be working in these windows, right? These screens. So your main work will be going into number 1, which is the scene window. So in the scene window, what you can do is we can plan the content, where it's going to be placed. All these things we can plan in the scene window. Then in number 2 is hierarchy window, where hierarchy window, we can see what are the content we added. Let's say we're creating a car game. So number of cars, the objects associated with that, camera, likewise, we can see in that. The project is the physical files, actual files that's associated with the particular Unity project. So these are actual files. In the project window, we can see whatever the real files. So you can see in the, like, in a folder, we can see all these files. So game window is like we can run this, and this is how the output looks like in number 4. Number 3 is the inspector window. It's like the property window, where we can select a particular item in number 1, and we can see the relevant properties. So I will demo this in the in next few minutes after the set of slides, and then you get much more in-depth knowledge about this. So I ask you to download the software after the session, and you can practice these things. So there are a lot of supporting tutorials in the official website as well, and YouTube also you can find a lot of support. and also creating complete game from scratch, like what are the steps and all these things. So it provides a lot of support. Unity have these lot of support, as well as there are some certification also in their Unity website. You can find some official certifications, and you can take those certification and get certified on Unity as well. And in terms of assets, as I mentioned, these are really important to make a game. So we need to use images, we need to use 3D models, videos, animations, fonts, sounds, scripts. So all the things are considered as assets, right, through the game. So these things are, we need to provide separately. Some of the things, for example, images, we can use Photoshop, Illustrator like software to create graphics. Then we can use 3D Max, Maya, Blender like software to create 3D models. Videos, we can use Adobe Premiere, After Effects like software to create our game trailer. Likewise, even cutscenes. Then animations, some of the animation frameworks are there in the Unity, or some of the animation we can create as 3D animations from 3D Max, or 2D spike sheets from the image editing softwares. The font files we can add is supporting for the language in the game. Let's say you want to support multiple languages, that is also possible. Then sound files you can add as MP3 wave files. As I mentioned, any of these things you cannot directly go to Google Image and download, right? You need to have some kind of a, like you need to create your own, or you need to have some kind of a license to use this. So Unity basics. So these are the, as I mentioned, previous window also 1 to 5. One is a scene. That means what we are creating is a Unity. The very first is the project. So inside the project, we are going to have a scene, right? Because a game is kind of, in a way, is more similar to movie, right? In the movie, we are not creating movie at once. We are creating scene by scene, right? Then we know we join the all scenes, and we are like finalizing as a movie. So likewise, in this Unity environment also, we create as a project, and particular scene, particular set of game elements we can represent as a scene. Sometimes entire game can be a scene, or sometimes one level can be a scene. So scene can represent particular game objects, models, camera, and all these elements. Then inside that we have a hierarchy, that is list of objects in the game. Then inspector is like the property window. We can like change these things. And in the game, we can actually see how this is running. And we have the project window where we can see all these files, right? So I will first show these things, right? So this is the Unity game engine. I'm having at the moment 2021 version. But even if you look at like 5 years ago, Unity version, still these core things are same. Only they are going to add new features, and some of these changes are there, but all the fundamentals are same. If you look at very like old version of the Unity, still fundamentals are same. So here what you can see is the scene window, right? Here you can see a scene window. Then in the left side, you can see a hierarchy window. Then here you can see the project window, right? Here you can see the project window, and this is the inspector window. At the moment, you can see everything is empty. What we have is a main camera like this, and a directional light like this, right? So these are the minimum thing you need to have. You need to have a camera, and you need to have a light, right? So you can see camera. If you click here, you can see how camera sees. So this is how our game sees. Not like this. In this like a small window you have seen, it's like that. It's like, that's why you can have compare some of these things like to movie, right? Movie also, you know, whatever we recorded or look at in the camera, only we can see. Like actors can do whatever the things, but only whatever the things that camera capture, only recorded into a movie. So likewise, whatever the things outside is not seen in the game, only whatever the things seen in the camera. Additionally, we need a lighting. See, there's a directional light, right? Like this. Even we can change light colors as well. Here different colors are there. Likewise, we can change to multiple colors as well. So like you know, when you are shooting a movie, we look for colors. We are not shooting a movie in the dark, right? There are a lot of artists giving additional colors, all these things. So same goes to game as well, right? So in here we can just add like a very basic objects, like let's say a 3D cube like this. So that is like the very basic 3D object, right? So if you look at the camera, you can see how camera sees, right? So in the small screen, you can see how the camera sees this object like this. So if you run this, you can see in the game window, it will switch into the game window. And in the game window, you can see how camera sees this thing. So it's like the small, the view is different. See, it's based on the camera placement. So I can move the camera. I can move the camera a little bit upward. See, then if you look at now, it will be a different view. So whatever the camera sees, it's going to represent in the game window, right? So that is another thing you need to look at like this, right? This is the game window, right? And this is the scene window. So here we can use several tools to look at this in a several kind of a way. See, I can rotate this, I can zoom in, right? I can use the hand tool to move up and down. So likewise, I can use several tools to look at these things, right? So that is this is like editor kind of a view. If you are familiar with 3D Max, you can see this kind of environment, editor environment. So this is where we design our game, right? So this is really good for game designers as well. This is where design our game. So when you go to right side, you can see the properties associated with that in the inspector like this. I can also use the basic tools like this to move this. So if I select the cube, right? If I select the cube, you can see I can use this tool here to move the object. So I can move it up, right? X-axis, Y-axis, or Z-axis. So I can move this. Then I can use rotation. So rotation one, I can rotate this, right? Then I can use the scale. So this is scale. I can scale up, right, based on the different axes, right? Like this, I can scale. So like this, you can see. So now it will be different, right? So like this, I can scale. Now I can get another game object, let's say sphere, on top of this, right? Likewise, you can see these are the very basic set of objects that we can use in our game, that we can use by default. But when you are actually building the game, we need to go beyond this, and we need to use some of the 3D models associated with this as well. So let me, we can create some files. So for example, let's say we want to create some colors. We can create a material, right? Like this. And then we can give some colors for this one, right? For this material, like this. And I will create another material. So here I can create another material, right? Then I can give another color for this one, like this. Then I can apply these colors into this. So what I can do is I can drag and I can apply the colors like this. So now you can run this and you can see it's then apply these colors, and then it will be still in the same position. Why? We did not apply any coding, right? So that's where the coding is important. So you can see lighting is also giving some shadows because we have a directional light. So we can see there's a light here. So if I go to directional light, I can move this into different position, right? So there are different lighting also there. So Unity giving these lighting and all these basic features without any coding, right? Because if you look at standard programming SDKs, for example, DirectX, that is where the mostly the really high performance games are created in using just using DirectX SDK, where this part also, to get this part, we need to write at least 600 to 500 lines of code. But Unity, we don't need to write any line of code to get to this part, right? So because there's some coding involved in this part, but Unity is make it simplified for us to use it. So that is one of the plus points that Unity providing that we can use. Then even here you can see we can add some components, like we can add some things like rigid body, right? We can add some physics based components, things like that. We can add, then we can get both a lot of these other interactions, right? So these are also automatically applying with the Unity physics engine, giving all these basic physics features. See, so I have applied gravity. See here, mass. I will make it like little bit lightweighted. Then I can see use gravity. So I now enable the gravity in the game world with the object, right? So now you can see when this is running, how this will appear. See, so now it's appearing differently compared to previous setup, right? So where we can see all these things. So we can add some physics to this one as well. Rigid body, that is a very basic physics. Then it will automatically apply physics for both components. These things are, of course, we don't need to write any code to apply basic physics in game in environment. It's automatically support. So since we apply the gravity for this one, it's just dropping. So I'll just remove that, right? So here you can see everything. I didn't write any single line of code. Everything is available by default with the Unity engine. All these things, see, like this. So now we can see a different behavior with the type of change that we are doing, right? So likewise, we can apply these different physics and different elements, and we can get all the benefits that is providing with the Unity engine without writing a single line of code, right? And also, if you want to scripting here in that component, you can see there's this scripting, new script, right? Then you can add, let's say, player script. Then what you can do is it is going to create a new script, right? So this is the scripting language that we can use. Here you can see the script part is added. So it's going to open up the code editor, and you can see the coding scripting in that, right? So likewise, we can select C# or JavaScript as a language. There's a question, do we import new shapes or images which are created by us? Yes. So Unity by default only providing you with the basic set of these game objects, right? Basic set of game objects. So anything else you need to import. You need to import from the, so there are multiple ways to import. So Unity basically providing these 3D objects, like, you know, in 3D Max also we get these kind of objects. But any other 3D models we need to import, and Unity also have a marketplace to import all these things. So I will show this as well. Since there was a question, I will show the marketplace now. Right, so in the Unity, we have this Unity Asset Store, right? So in the Unity Asset Store, you can go to 3D, and then you can get 3D models, right? So you can get these 3D models like this, right? So there are paid 3D models and free 3D models. So let's say I want to create like, let's say adventure game. So I can get this 3D model, right? So, and I can get these models, right? So this is these are the models associated with the adventure game. See, so I do not want to create any of this. I can just use it from the Unity Asset Store, right? And because you are paying, or like anyway, these are like a marketplace, you get rights to use that, right? You can see the licenses. These are all are used for games. Otherwise, that it won't call as a Unity marketplace. And as a developer also, you can publish your market assets into your game as well. Let's say you are a 3D designer, you can create some 3D models and import into Unity, and then you can publish that. So this developer is like that. He have created a few models and apply some effects and create a Unity project. And here you can see the Unity project. You can see models associated with that, FBX files. This is the scene, and this is some script we have added. So this is really big file, about 1 GB number of files. Likewise, these are the things we can get in these files. Rocks, materials also include these things, and we can see some reviews and then see what is the feedback about this model. So this is the way we can add these 3D models also. Otherwise, we need to spend some time to create the 3D models, and not everything is like chargeable. You get free models as well, right? So these are some of the free models that we can get in the Unity, but limited set of models in the free account, free kind of thing we can get. So some basic type of models we can get into Unity. You can directly click add to my assets like this, and then it will be added to your account. So you need to go to assetsstore.unity.com. Then I can click open in Unity. Then I can open this project in Unity as well. right? So this is going to open up this project in Unity, the assets, and I can import this into the my current project as well. So as simple as that. Because Unity Marketplace provides the way you to interact directly, or you can like, because as I mentioned, Unity provides a lot of support for indie developers. So it gives some of these features for you to work with. And also, if you search Unity, there are Unity also providing some of these things that we can easily work in our projects, right? So Unity Asset Store is a really good place. You can search in the Google as well, Unity Asset Store, and you can get these much more easily just using a good Unity Asset Store. So I'm now adding that one. So what is the name of this one? Low Poly Simple Nature Pack. So Low Poly Simple Nature Pack. Yeah. So I'm going to add it into the game. So likewise, you can see we can add these things into our game environment, and then we can import it, right? So now I'm importing it. So then it will be added as a separate scene. So here you can see this is now imported, having these objects. Then I can import it. Yeah, this one. So now I can use this in my game. So I'm already having an environment with this. So it's having FBX file. So if you are familiar with 3D modeling, you know, we can create a 3D model and we can export it as a FBX file, right? We can export it as FBX file. So that will be a 3D model file, right? FBX is the standard format that we can use in games. So even all other main 3D softwares use this format, like Blender and Maya as well. So where we can use this to represent the game, right? So I need to go to scene, yeah, this one. I think there's a small there's a version incompatibility, so it's not working correctly with this version. Yeah. So those things also you need to look at it. Maybe you can get the model files. So these are the model files, you can get it, but this one is not working correctly with the, you can see the model files here, but the scene is not working correctly with the current version I'm having. So that's why I'm getting this color, right? But you can see all the model files associated with that, you can get it like this, but the scene is not working. So let me check with another one. Right. So when you are looking at the page, you need to look at the supported versions as well. Sometimes there are incompatibility things are there. So in that case, you might not able to get the relevant version because of the version incompatibility, right? You need to look at those things as well. So at the moment we got something like that. So it's a incompatibility of the version. There are some missing plugin or something like that, because at the moment I'm having the latest version. So that's why we need to test that and see what is the correct version, and you need to use it, because some are a little bit 2-3 years old. It might not compatible directly with the very latest version. So you need to look at those things also when you are importing those things. Yeah, this one is works okay. So here you can see this is another one I used. Where it's another environment pack. So where I have 2-3 different scenes here. I can use it in a game, but again, when you are using these kind of things in the mobile games, you need to think to again, because sometimes if the model contain a lot of advanced things, especially in terms of polygons and triangles. It can slow down the performance. So you need to think about those things as well in terms of mobile games. But for PC and other games, it should be okay, right? So these are some of the models. This one is okay, right? So I can run this. So here you can see number of trees, bushes, grass environment is created in this particular scene, right? Okay, so I can load it, and you can see you can run it like this, and we can add the character, and then we can work down the character from that scene as well, right? So if you look at the models in that, you can go to the particular FBXs. You can see these are the trees characters. See, so these 3D models we need to create from 3D Max. So it takes a lot of time to create these 3D models. So based on the skills you having with the 3D modeling, it takes some time, right? So you can see I can drag and drop these things like this FBX, right? So even you can create as empty scene with adding these things as well, right? Like this, right? So likewise, I can add this content, then I can write script for that. I can add component, and I can script, and I can add some capability. So that's how we do the game scripting and programming, right? So those are the things, right? Okay, so let's go back to the slide. Okay, so as I mentioned, a lot of these features we can easily drag and drop, where easily we can add these things into our game. And in terms of scripting, a certain set of things we need to use scripting, and then we can use scripting C# or JavaScript to write the script. Then scene window, I think now you are familiar with the scene window and the game window. Scene window is the main place that we add the game objects, and then how we interact with the game. Then once you do that, we can run the game in the game window as well. Then hierarchical panel can see on these things in a hierarchical view like this. Then the project panel, we can see all the game objects are running, like what are the files associated with that. Then inspector view, we can click on a particular object, and then we can get the properties of that in the inspector view. Then as I mentioned earlier, scripting, we can use JavaScript and C#. It use Mono compiler, a part of a .NET compiler when it open source called Mono. It use Mono compiler to compile either C# or JavaScript programming language. So I recommend to use C# because it's really easy to catch up, and we can easily use C#. It's the same like if you're familiar with .NET development, still the same C#. You can easily catch up, and we can easily use that. Then in the game, what we are adding is the game objects. We can add a number of game objects into the game, and then we can add this any number of game objects. There's no limit how many game objects you can add. And also we can add prefabs. What is prefab? Prefab is a set of components. So we can wrap a component as a prefab, and we can use it. Maybe not only the current game, even for other games, we can add this prefab, right? So prefab is that kind of a tool that we can use to add these into the game, right? So prefab is like reusable component that we can use to add to the game. Okay. So this is a game that we have developed in our company. I will just play the video. So this is a shooting game. We have created 2D kind of a shooting game. Okay, so when you're making the games, it's really important to know the assets. So that means the content that we are going to add. As I mentioned, you need to create 2D assets, 3D assets, audio files, all these things, and also the file size, right? Because that is the end product of the file size. For example, let's say since our focus for today is mobile games, will you be downloading a game like 500 megabytes in your mobile phone? No, right? So that is a really challenge. If you put lot of these assets, so the game size is super high. Then your game APK size is 500 megabytes. Then will the customers or the game players so going to download your game because they need to download 500 megabytes, not only for data per se, but even their storage. It is going to store 500 like half a GB for the game. So you need to look at these optimization things, right? Especially mobile games, you need to look at these things much more carefully. But in PC games, 500 GB is nothing. So it can be go up to 2 GB as a standard. But in the large scale games, you have 100 GB, 50 GB kind of bigger scale. But still, the PC games like 2 GB is okay, right? But in mobile games, 2 GB is still we can find mobile games in 2 GB size in the marketplace. But users think to like twice when before downloading these kind of games because of the storage limitations, right? So those things also we need to look at because we are creating as an indie developer as our own individual game, so as a small game. So then when you are releasing the game, no one knows that much about your game beforehand, or a company or the brand. So that's why we need to make it easy for them to use the game and use the environment. So this is how we can make the build process. So we can select a particular scene, and then we can use the this build tool to make the game build successful. So let me demonstrate that part. So let's say I have used this scene. Then what I can do is I can go to build settings like this. So in the build settings, you can see you can go for PC, WebGL, Universal Windows platform. Then we have Android, iOS, Xbox likewise. So which much easier to demonstrate is the PC platform. So I will create a new folder here. So like this, then it is going to create a exe for what I have shown you as a PC executable. If you have in Android, you need to set up Android SDK, and then there are some other guidelines. I will show that in the later in the session. But PC is really a good testing ground where we can easily test out our game, and we can run that much more easily. And we can test whether everything is working okay, and like that once you have successfully able to run in PC environment, whether you don't have any bugs or issues like that, then what you can do is you can easily use that and convert it into a mobile game. And in the mobile game, there are when it comes to publishing, you need to look at some other kind of a set of rules. So I'm going to explain toward the end of the session what are the guidelines when you are publishing into mobile app. So I will get iOS, Android as example, and I will show what are the guidelines, the Google review when you are going to publish, right? Things like those areas, like in terms of the quality and in terms of different guidelines. I will explain those things toward the end of the session. But beforehand, we need to create a successful game project before going into publishing. So that's why we need to look at like how we can use this and optimize this in PC first. And then here you can get a exe like this. Then I can double click this and I will get the thing running in the screen. So it will be switching into my other screen. So let me show that. Yeah, so it'll be like this. I think everyone able to see the screen. Yeah, switch into screen one. Yeah, so it'll be like this. So you can see we can play the game in here, right? Like this. So I switch back to my second screen. Okay. Okay, so likewise, we can create easily. We can create a game here, and we can publish, right? So that is how the publishing works, and we can publish these things much more easily in PC. So there's a question: can we assign in graphic related things for the installation windows during the creating build files? if there's anything related to that, we can assign, but by default, Unity will make sure like all the related plugins and everything will be associated in the exe. So in terms of PC, it won't be that much of an issue, but even when you try to mobile also, it try to convert everything. But there are some configurations you need to look at it. There are some incompatible things are there, especially in mobile version. If you try to export, let's say, this one into mobile based on some effect or based on some option you have selected, there could be some chance of like not everything getting converted. Then you need to look at that option. There's no direct assigning, it's all automatic conversion, because we cannot directly give whatever the things converted. It's automatically Unity will do this conversion, because here you can see we create only one project, it's automatically convert into different type of projects. So that is automatic process. But there are some settings. If you go to player settings, where in the player settings you can see a lot of different configurations, right? So with this configuration, as you mentioned, we can make some changes, we can add some components with that. So you need to be familiar with this set of configurations in the build process. But by default, it's automatically do all the conversion. Only in the advanced cases, you need to look at the build process and then look at some of these the conversions. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then I will show the next demo. So in this one, I close this. We have a 2D game. So I will show the scene here. Right. So this is a 2D game. So 2D game, you can see the setup is different. So we have this kind of a sprite sheet in a 2D game, right? We have a sprite sheet like this in the 2D game, where we can see here, right? There's another question, how we can identify the user specification while developing the game. So for that one, actually, you need to look at like the minimum, like the performance. So it's actually common for all the games. Like you put up with the standard set of specifications, right? Based on that, and you can try running the game on several set of specification. There's no tool to get that information, like this need P3 or P4, like i7 or something like that. There's no tool. It's just like you can run in some low-end machines and some high-end machines and see what is the average turnaround will be. Because what we saying as slowdown of a game is like if the frame rate is getting lower, like it's getting less than 60 frames per second, the game is getting slower. So that is the average. So what is the idle rate would be, we can check from the when you are running the game in multiple machines, but in mobile also like that, right? Okay, so when it comes to 2D games, what you can do is you get this kind of the particular space, right? 2D space. So your game will be changed into 2D environment. So here we can see this is a Flappy Bird game template where we can like modify this or we can use it. So here I will show the spikes. So you can see here, this is the bird spike, then this is the sky spike, and this is a grass spike. So likewise, these are the spike sheet. As I mentioned, we need to create beforehand before actually creating the game. So that is really important to set up this. So as we develop 3D models using 3D Max or Maya software in the 3D game, we need to use Illustrator. It's really good software because it works with vector graphics where we can design these different animations, right? So that is a really good tool where we can create this particular illustrations and then we can import it as a sprite sheet. So once you do that, we can write some scripts. So here you can see there's a bird script here associated with this, and there's calling script. Likewise, there are a couple of scripts associated with these objects, and we have a couple of animations, bird die, idle kind of animations, couple of prefabs are there. Likewise, so those are the building components to set up the game. The 2D game setup is still a bit different from the 3D game setup. As I mentioned, we only work with X and Y space, a 2D space when you are going through that. So here you can see this game, right, like this, right. So this is you can see it's actually Flappy Bird. It's a really popular game a few years ago. It's a direct template on that, right? So likewise, it's a never-ending game. So you can play this until you are losing, right? Like this. Okay, so let's look at how to publish the game. So you can publish this game after you successfully created, the way I showed you earlier. So you can publish on WebGL or Android like this. Then in WebGL, I'll do the build for PC. Then you can select, and it will create the exe file, right? It will create the exe file for you, right? Then you can get that, or we can create a WebGL project or Android project. So those are the key areas we need to remember when you are publishing. What kind of platform I'm going to build this? It's a mobile game or Android game or iOS game or likewise. So this is a 2D game. So the core things are same, but if you look at the making like steps, when it come to the setting up is different, because 2D space, you can see we have set up a spike sheet like a game level. So on top of that, we added these different spikes, and then we make different the movement and script, right? So let's play this. So here you can see the game, right? So like this is a exe. So you can see in a couple of seconds you can get the playable game, and these the items that is appearing, these blocks are different, dynamically changing. We have added that feature. So here you can see you need to do a couple of iterations to play the game. You can see next time is different. So these are the common signs for the casual game. These are some common features in the casual games that you need to set up because it's going to be addictive. You need to do a couple of iterations to play the game. So those are some common areas in the casual games that you need to look at. And next I will show in terms of publishing, what are the things you need to look at it, right? In terms of publishing, what are the things you need to look at it? I will show those things, right? Okay, so in terms of publishing, what you can do is you can go to the Google Play developer console, right? So this is your publishing marketplace. So this one you need to pay some amount to get this Google Play developer console, right? Using this in Google Android, it will be $25. Using that, you need to pay $25, and then what you can do is you can get this developer console. So this is the place that we publish, right? This is the place that we publish our game, right? So let me show an example. So once you go to play.google.com console, Google Play developer console, you can use create app, right? You can use create app here. So you can see here in this marketplace, what it's going to do is it's going to ask whether your name of the game, right? Let's say, right? Then it's asked the default language. Then it's going to ask whether app or game, right? Then it's going to ask free or paid game. So there's a difference between these two. If you are making a free game, you don't get any revenue from your game, but there are a couple of ways you can make revenue, like in-game purchases you can create, or you can make some advertisements. You can enable some Google ads in your game, and based on that you get some revenue, right? But if it is a paid game, what happen is, like, you can set up a price, then the customer need to pay the amount in order to play the game. Then you need to confirm the policy and the US export laws, and then you can create your game project here. This will enable a template, like the project is small, like the publishing project in the Google Play developer console. These steps are kind of common when you go to iOS publishing. It also you can get the iOS publishing this kind of a environment, and you can set up your project. So in this dashboard, what you can do is we can set up some guidelines. So there are some questions asked like for example, details about your game. So if you go to store presence, main store listing, what you can see is it's going to ask things like what is your game name, right? Then you need to provide a short description, long description, and then you need to do icon. So you need to create a graphic icon, feature graphics. So make sure to have this the width and height. Otherwise, you are not able to run the game, right? So that is a must, right? In Apple iOS, actually your game, your application will be rejected if your image size is not like this. Even in here, they are looking at this, but not restrictive as much as Apple iOS, but still there are some restrictions in terms of that. So you need to spend good amount of time, at least couple of days in this place, right? Let's say you completed the game, you have built into the Android. So now you need to spend couple of time, spend couple of days in this place. Why? This is the place that you publish your game and also you provide the information. So when you go to a marketplace, you can see the information related to the game, right? So this is the place that you can see that put that information. So it's really important to look at all the information that is given, and then based on that how we can set up, right? So here what you can see is the feature graphics, and also you can create a YouTube video like a game trailer, and you can put it here, and you can put some screenshots, and also if this game is supporting tablets, Android tablets, you can put some screenshots. And then we can add additional information. So it asks a lot of these additional information, especially in the game, whether you are using gameplay services, it asking for that. And also it asking for certifications as well. So what are the certifications? For example, this one, rating. This is really important, especially for games, this rating. So it asks a couple of questions because you are creating a game not only for Sri Lanka and for the entire world, right? So different countries have different restrictions when it comes to games, playing games with different age groups. Like for example, kids. Different age groups have different particular restrictions. So when you are publishing your games, they will ask a certain number of ratings, right? In your product, you need to set up these different ratings, right? For example, different countries have different guidelines. So there are some questions, and based on that, for example, let's say your game, will you display blood, right? Likewise, any like unwanted language you are displaying in the game, then your game will be 18 plus. So likewise, they will review that, and if you provide any false information, it will reject your application, right? Then in the product section, we can go for a pricing, and then we can make it right. So here we can set up some pricing here, and we can set for pricing for country. Since I didn't complete the first step, some of the rest of the steps are blocked for me because I didn't complete the first step because I want to demonstrate this. But in order to do this step, first you need to complete your first step where I have shown you need to upload some images and graphics. Once you do that, only the rest of the steps will be automatically enabled. Since I didn't do that, you can see I cannot access those things. Then once you do that, you get to see financial reports, like how many buyers, you can set up monetization. Likewise, you can do all the things in this space. So in the dashboard, you can see the overall picture, what is your current stage. And also if you want to publish the game, you can go for production. So in the production section, you can create a new release. So here, what you can do is you can publish your APK, because in Android, what you are getting is the APK file. So here you can see, you can upload your APK file here with the release version name, right? So then with those information and with the APK file, you can submit this for review. So once everything successful, there will be button appearing for submit for review. In the Google Play Store, it used to take like 1 day, but with the Corona situation, it take around 2 to 3 days to appear your game, everything okay to available in the marketplace. iOS, it take even more time because iOS, they do manual testing as well. So it can take a couple of weeks in order to appear your game in the marketplace. So once everything okay, you can see your game and everyone can play your game in the Google Play Store. It will be available in that. So you can see from the Unity starting point onward, you can create the game, create the project, and then finally build up and again finally release into the Google Play Store or an iOS Play Store. And in terms of pricing, Unity is completely free, but you need to get this developer account. This developer account is $25 USD. And you can set up your own payment options and everything. Then when you generate revenues, you will get that direct to your bank account. So then similar to iOS as well, iOS also you can open up account, but that is about 99 USD per year. So every year you need to pay that amount. But in Android is only one-time payment, 25 USD, and there are no restriction. You can upload as many apps or games as much as you like. So that is the one plus point you are going to have. So you can use Unity. And similarly, not only mobile games, because our topic for the day is mobile game, but not only mobile games, you can also create other games as well. Why? Because we created as a Unity project. So you don't need to only create as a mobile games. You can also use this project that you have created to create a PC game, web games as well, because same game can be published into the other platforms as well. That is another added advantage that you have gained with this Unity environment. So with that, I will go to our next part. So Unity AI. I will quickly brief through the Unity AI part. So Unity have this new AI capability where we can set up more dynamic AI based components in Unity environment. This is part of the reinforcement learning technology that is available with the Unity AI, where it is more toward self-learning kind of environment that we can set up. So Unity recently introduced this a couple of years ago, where we can add these AI capabilities into our games, also our AI projects. So if you are a student who are doing AI research, AI or AI based project, you can apply Unity AI to make this available into our AI projects, right? So here we have three areas in the Unity AI: agent, brain, and academy. Using that, we can set up the Unity AI. So you can go to the official URL unity3d.com/machine learning, and then you can look at these AI capabilities in that using this URL, where we can get more features about that, right, in the Unity AI. So where this is official page for that one, and there are a couple of games and projects are created with the Unity AI based technology, right? So likewise, you can use the this official URL to access more information of that, because we don't have much time.
This is the AI after only.
Right, so you can go through those things. Okay, and the final thing is the game design document. So I will get a couple of minutes to explain that. So game design document is a document that we need to prepare when you are designing your game, right? So this is like the specification document we need to create when you are building our game. So this document is for the racing game. So where we can define what is the racing levels, what are the how the track going to be, what are the number of objectives, like that, and we can revision the document. So this is really good if you are building a little bit bigger game with a team of people involved. If it is only one member, one individual game, this document could be one page. But if there are multiple team members are involved, there are a couple of, let's say, 5-member team, then you need to have this kind of a document where everyone can look at it and look at the idea about the game. So where we can have sketches of the game, layout, structure, all these things are listed down in the game. So this document is called game design document. Using this document, we can design our game, and we can plan this and we can make revisions, like we can add new features to this game as well. Okay. So that is the time we have for this session. And if you have any more questions, I have answered a couple of questions. If you have any more questions, you can put in the chat box. So I would happy to answer those questions as well. So I have able to answer a couple of questions that you had. So if you have any more questions, just ask in the chat box, right? So make sure to download the software and install Unity. That is the first task you need to we need to do. Then the second step is like you can go through, I think this video also put into the YouTube channel. So you can go through the video again, and also you can look at some of the other learning materials are available in the official Unity site. If you are going to learn through these learning materials, I would recommend the official learning Unity site. Because in YouTube it could be a bit confusing. Everyone is explaining in different ways, so it will be really difficult to everything to put together. But in Unity, they have created in academic support, so it have follow a structure. Also, there are some certification program in the Unity website. You can follow these exams and you can get certified as well. And it's a really good starting point for game developers to get started and build your own game. And you can make money from the game in several ways, like you can publish the game to the marketplace and you can get revenue from the game. Then you can even publish to the Unity marketplace. Like there are several streams of revenue are there in Unity, and it's completely free. I think the cap is around 15,000 or 20,000 US dollars. So until that amount, you can, I exactly not remember the number, so you can look at the number in the Unity site. So until that amount you are generating, you can use the Unity for free. After that amount only, you need to buy the Unity Pro licenses. So until that amount, you can use Unity for free. That is their guidelines at the moment. So it's really good tool, everyone to use. So if you have any questions, we have another 1 minute, you can ask. So thank you for joining the session. And if you have any questions, you can email to the email address given in the slide as well. So I think if you have any questions, we'll give another 1 minute. So otherwise we can wrap up for the session.
Okay, so there's one question. Can I make games without using Unity Pro?
Yeah, you can use the free version, as I mentioned. Yeah, only restriction is there's a certain limit of earning. I think it's around 20,000 or even more. I just exactly not remember, but until
It's 100,000.
100,000, right? Yeah, 100,000.
100,000 US dollars.
Yeah. So until that amount, so that's a really big amount. So until that amount, we can use for Unity for free.
Okay, if you don't have any questions, we would like to wind up the session. Thank you for joining, Udita, and thank you for the attendees as well. So we will meet in the next session. We will inform you a bit advanced. The next session will be on the careers on the game development. Right. So there's another question. Can I make games without Blender or any other software?
So in that case, you need to use the some of the available assets, free to available assets. So like if you just say, if you want to just learn the things and like that, then you can use, of course, there are a lot of 3D models and materials are available. There are a lot of sites that you can download these things. But when you are going to publishing only, you need to have the copyright or whatever the licenses. But if you are just learning the things, you can just use the models in the internet and you can try those things. Yeah, you can find that in the asset store, Unity asset store. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. Any other questions you can ask? Otherwise, we can wrap up. Yes, Kalinga.
So we can wrap up the session with it. And thank you all for joining today evening. So we will meet up in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.